It's super dark. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm still clearing off my desk because I just got done running to 3 stores and took the rainbow stamper to school and came home and went to the bathroom really quickly. And I was like kind of frantically typing up my idea, and then I came upstairs. I was like, oh my gosh, my desk isn't even clean because I didn't clean it from last week. Bad, 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 Rachel. Okay, so let me get this up. So just as a side note, does anyone here read Polish? Read and would be able to translate it? It never hurts to ask. I'm sure there's lots of people following. Good morning. Hi, Donna. Hi, Denise. Let me just get myself here so I can see my comments. Turn the ringer down. So we have Polish relatives. Good morning, Aaron from Iowa. We have Polish relatives, and so my grandmother used to write back and forth with them. However, since my grandmother passed away, they're probably wondering what happened to everyone. So I wanted to be able to send them a letter, but I don't exactly know what this address is, if it's like a correct address or not. Hi, thank you for sharing, Karen. Okay, let me move these off of here. And I do apologize. This morning light is really like whacking up the lighting in here. So I did just clean my windows. However, it's not really helping. So if anyone happens to be able to read, speak, or translate Polish, look, I knew Karen. I know. See, I know the Polish last name. So I'm trying to find out if this is actually an address that's correct. Like, how would you write that? Are the letters correct? Because I know that Polish letters are a little bit different, but never hurts to ask. So if anyone knows how to do that, give me a shout. Let's see, what else do I have here today to share with you? You're going to watch the archives. Oh, that's horrible, the ending that I'm reading, Donna. That's just disturbing. And so you're going, thank you for joining me, and you're going to watch the replay of your other trials. So I have, oh, that's awesome, Karen. That's really cool. So I know my grandparents, my mom also passed away, so I have no one Polish there to translation. That's a good idea. Thank you, Marty. That's a great one. Awesome. Thank you all. See, that's all you have to do is ask. Ask your friends and things happen. So I saw this gorgeous card. I did Google the address, Donna, and it's really, I don't know if it's the way it's written because I don't understand the lettering so much, but it kind of just points to a road. I did Google that though. And no, it's not in Warsaw. It's in Słupsk, I believe. So I saw this card yesterday, and I was, actually it was late last night. I was thinking, I just got this folder in the other day. This is my last celebration freebie, and I know a lot of people probably have this folder. And if you don't have this folder, it's actually going to carry over into the next annual catalog. So I saw this card that this lady did, and I believe she is Japanese, so I don't know her name. I looked at her website, but it's all in Japanese, so obviously I can't read Polish. I certainly can't read Japanese. But she did a gorgeous card using the Country Floral folder, also using the wood textures designer series paper and the swirly bird framelit. So I thought we could kind of do a play on that. Also, if we could add in like some swirly things if we wanted to. But I thought another really great stamp set that you could use if you happen to have it would be the either the colorful seasons or the seasonal layers, because there's a lot of these floral images that you could kind of substitute in. Obviously, you wouldn't really want to sub in a snowflake, but you could somewhat do this card. You could even do the branch, and you could cut the branch out with the wood DSP to make it a little simpler. So, and also, just in case you've never seen it, there is another Swirly stamp set called Swirly Frames. This one's really cool for making abstract cards. I did a camera card with this once, which was really neat. It was a copy of someone else's card. But I also did another one that was really bright colors on the top. And then there's like a little separation piece. So if I can find those photos, I will re-tag them into this. But this is a really cool stamp set if you've never used it. It is photopolymer. So it's, as you can tell, you can see which ones I did and did not use. But it's neat because of the different, so some of them have lines and then some of them have lines and dots and dashes. But it's really cool because of the different elements you can use. So if you've never noticed this in the catalog, I will, again, I'll do my best to repost one of the cards that I made with this so you can see it. But it was really fun and super easy. As a matter of fact, I'm like, I think I know where it is, but I don't want to go digging because that's just going to take too much time. So, what I thought, Henderson, Nevada. I know where that is. That's right near Vegas. We drove through Henderson when we were going to, the Hoover Dam, which is really cool. So, thanks for joining. Thank you, everybody, for joining and sharing. I appreciate it. So, I'm gonna tell you, the girls, if you want to go to her blog, again, unless you read, I believe it's Japanese. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. Her blog is called leaf.net, and she has a lot of really pretty cards, but that's where I got this idea from. So just to be able to give her credit since I don't know her name. And then I am going to pull out the Wood Textures Designer Series paper. Just in case you don't know, this is in the annual catalog, and this has carried over once already. So I'm going to tell you it's probably not likely. I don't know because, again, I don't really know anything that they do or don't do. But I would bet it's not likely it's going to carry over a third time. So if you like this paper, which I especially love, this piece, and then the big, like a bi-cut of the wood, I love that one because it reminds me of my grandfather. So this is like my second pack of paper, which I think I might have used that. So here it is. It's actually on the other side of this. These are my two favorite pieces. And then you can use the wood planks, for so many cards. So I think I need to order one more pack of this before it's gone, just in case. Because a lot of the things that are consumable, especially since we're kind of hitting the end of first of all, the occasions catalog, but also hitting the end of the annual catalog, there may be a lot of things that are going to start to sell out, and they probably will not be able to replenish them. Stamp sets are pretty much guaranteed until the end, but paper, so this is the wood paper. You can see all the different components you can get in that. It's probably not going to carry over again. They did say that the Tropical Chic stamp set was going to carry over. I'm not sure if I can find that quickly or not. And that also does have a designer series paper, so maybe this might carry over, but I wouldn't bet on anything because usually they have all new designer series paper. I think this is one of the only ones that's ever carried over. And also, just worth mentioning, these colors, I don't know, again, maybe something might carry over. I have no idea, but I'm gonna bet probably not. These are all retiring. So if you have any of these stamp pads or markers, you really, really, really want to get your hands on the re-inker, because that way you will have the re-inker. You can re-ink for years with these colors, and that way you can at least re-ink them. You can refill the markers. Apparently you can also refill the Stampin' Blends, which I did not know, and I'm going to try it with two of my markers that are a little bit wimpier in their color. This is the first one I got, the Pool Party. So what my intention is, I'm going to see if I can re-ink this Pool Party. I don't know the difference between the dark and the light. That's probably the only main issue, is maybe depending how many inks you put in, but you apparently can refill this with re-inker and alcohol. So I'm going to put this on the side so I actually remember to do it. And if it's successful, I will do a video to share that with you guys. But main point is, if you have something you want to get, you should get it soon, because a lot of these were on low order, the re-inkers and all the stuff in the in color. So just a PSA, if you have a color you really like, you probably should get it sooner. Especially, I love the Lemon Lime Twist, the Fresh Fig. I really like all of those colors. Honestly, I think they're all really, really, really nice colors, and I will be sad to see them go, but it's always fun to see what new stuff comes. So I am going to really refill this, I promise, and I will let you know Someone shared that on a different page. I think it was on a different post that I did, that you can refill these. But again, I'm not 100% sure. But I'm gonna try it with this one, because this one is pretty. Since this is one of the very first ones, and I already bought a replacement set, I'm gonna see if it works, and then I'll let you know. Okay, and let's see what else. Anything else on there? Okay, so anyone I didn't say good morning to, good morning. Thank you for joining us. So what we're gonna do is we're going to, let me put all this stuff out of the way so I don't make a wreck of anything. We're going to emboss a piece of Whisper White with this, and then we're going to use a piece of the Wood Textures DSP. And since this one is a full sheet, well, it's got something stuck to it. Isn't that fantastic? Oops. We're going to use a piece of this. This is pretty light, so we'll use that. And then we're going to cut out a few of the swirlies. And you could actually, if you have some scraps, this would give it a lot of extra visual interest. I'm going to cut one of them out from one of the pieces, and then I'm going to do a darker piece if I can find a little scrap, just because you could also just use like crumb cake or early espresso to cut them out as well. But just to make it like a little bit more interesting and kind of take a spin on Miss Leaf and Leaf's card, I will use some DSP. Let's see if I can find. I really want to use this one, but I don't want to crank into a full sheet. Oh, here's a piece one. We'll use that one. So the other thing was, if you have the sprig punch, is that one this one? Oh, maybe I do have it. It's funny. It just goes to show you don't know what you have. So I'm going to use this leaf punch, which I am 99% sure is still current, and just punch out a couple of leaf pieces. We could stamp a few flowers, and then we'll cut them out as well with the Big Shot. So let me put this. Let's see, I'm gonna go with this. These two, those three I'm gonna keep. This one we're gonna cut in half. I need a piece of Whisper White, and we'll make this card. And also next Wednesday, I was thinking about this because it's so close. Next Wednesday will be my last live before convention. So if you guys have anything you want to see made that is in the occasion catalog, as long as I have it, or the annual catalog, before, let me know. I'm happy to take suggestions, because when it comes to the point of like things starting to cross over in the catalog time period, sometimes I don't say I've run out of ideas, but I kind of get so focused on the fact that there's new stuff coming that I kind of forget about the other stuff. And just in case you didn't know, so this is like kind of looks like a viney branch. Originally when I got this one, I thought this was all one piece. So the way it was situated in there, it was kind of still. And then I cut it out, and then I realized it was actually two different ones. So we'll use all three of those. Might as well. And then what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to stamp a couple of the flowers from the Colorful Seasons, and then I will cut those out with the coordinating die cuts from that, just to add a little floral element to this. And also, one other note, with these folders that we keep our thinlets in and framelets, if I have extra pieces, like stuff that I cut out before that I didn't use, I usually just keep it in there. That way, if I need like something in a hurry, I have it there as well. So I don't know if you guys do that as well. And then I also get magnet sheets. I just order these from Amazon. I know Stampin' Storage does carry those as well, but I get them from Amazon, and I just put my stuff on there. However, I did see a really cool idea, and I'm sure some of you have done this before, so I'll just finish up wrapping up my tips before we get started. Oh, you'll be traveling to On Stage, Jenny? Aren't you lucky? I'm not going till Friday, because I'm going only to Atlantic City. So if I left on Wednesday, my family would be wondering why there was no dinner. But I saw someone actually go through with this when they first got their stamp set. And I'm just going to, or their die set, I should say. And I'm going to just do this since I have like a minute. We'll just take a minute to burn. So what they were doing is they would take like a pencil, or you could do a Sharpie if you wanted to, but I think a pencil would be good enough. And so if you're not going to mount this, they would trace it. That way they knew where to put the item. And then I guess on the inside you could put like maple, in case you were like, which leaf is it that I traced again? And then that way, you know how sometimes, which just has tape on it, so it's not going to work. But if you have a thin point Sharpie, it'd work. But you know, sometimes when you take all your stuff off and then you can't remember how it goes on, but somehow Stampin' Up! Seemed to get them all on there, but you can't get them to match again. So this might be a good idea as well. So then you could kind of just trace the outline of whatever it was that you did. Again, if you're doing this with a Sharpie, it probably would work better on the tape parts. But that way you can assure yourself that you can fit everything back on again. But don't ask me why it took me so long to realize that was a good idea. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know about myself. So what I'm going to do is, like, where the heck did I put my trimmer? I'm going to get my trimmer. And I'm going to just cut this down. So we're going to layer this on. So I'm going to actually trim this down to 5. And then I'm going to do, just so we have like a little bit of overlay, I'm going to do 2 1/4. So this will be my piece that I'm going to run through this floral folder. Okay, so I'm going to set this here just so I know. And then I'm going to use, since I ripped the end of this piece, I'm actually going to make it so it will be covered up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this also to 5. So maybe I should do it this way. Cut this to 5. Put this one on the side. I can use that for something else. And then same thing again. I'm going to cut this one to 2 1/2. That way I have enough to overlay this little ripped portion down here. So when I put these together onto the card piece, it's going to overlay like that. So it'll cover up that little ripped part down there. So that's going to be my other piece. And then I want to cut something to layer them onto. And it's espresso. This is a little, I think I might actually use espresso for the base. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my base. So again, in case you've never cut cardstock before, in the United States, a sheet of cardstock measures 11 inches by 8 1/2. And if you cut this in half, either the short way, you'll get 2 hamburger cards, which are short and fat. Or if you cut it this way, on the short side, you'll get 2 long and thin cards. We call those hot dogs sometimes. So usually what I'll do is I will score it. So right now on the 8 1/2 inch side, which is here, I'm going to score this at 4 1/4. And then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and I'm going to cut it. So this is the 11 inch side. I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. And I just did this backwards because I told you one thing and did the other. So these are 2 cards that you can either fold for your card to stand this way, or you can put them this way. So if you would have cut the other way, you would have had 2 long, slender cards. So, long and tall, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do this for my base, and then I think I'm going to bring in a bit of Petal Pink. That's powder pink. Is that what I wanted? No, powder pink. Since this is retiring, I'll use powder pink as my base. So we'll do this one at, hopefully this measured correctly, 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. So that will layer onto this piece. Nope, that's too big. It's supposed to be 4. Ding-a-ling. 4 by 5 1/4. There we go. Okay, so then these pieces are going to layer onto this. So this will layer here, and then that white piece will cover up this part. So if you get the drift of where we're going with this. I am going to keep this out just in case I decide to do the cards onto this color. And let's see. Yeah, you know, sometimes you forget. I forget things in the middle of doing them sometimes, so that's really not saying very much for me here. So I'm going to keep these pieces out. We're going to cut our swirlies. While I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and stamp some of the flower images. So you can see this definitely comes with a lot of flowers, and the cool part is you have these pieces that will kind of tell you. So you have, it has numbers on them if you've ever noticed. So this one here is number 5, image number 5, and it's actually written underneath of the stamp. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but this is number 5 here. And then if you want to put a stamen into your flower, you would use, which is here, number 5. You could use number 5 here. So then that will give your flower a stamen. You could always do this with Versamark and embossing powder if you wanted it to stand out, or just darker colors. So I'm just going to stamp a few of these. That way I can show you. And then, and also, just as a FYI, these little things here have a tail. Let me put this behind it so you can see a little better. So this has a tail to it right here with the arrow. That's where it goes up. So that's how you know how to line them up. So same thing with this one. There's a little tail right here. So you're going to line those two parts up to the top to get them to match up. So if you ever, for some reason, have a little bit of trouble with it, the other thing you could do, so same thing as well, is you could take, let's see, I think I only have a thick tip Sharpie up here, but you could take a Sharpie and kind of put a little dot on your stamp. That way you know where the point is, and then just remember to line those points up when you stamp it. So that kind of helps you to make sure your stamps are, I guess, associated in the correct direction. I don't even know if that's the right word, but that's what I'm going to go with. So let me grab this. I'm going to grab a mat and stamp these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp them in powder pink. I'm going to just do this on, I'm going to do this one here. I'm going to do this on white, and then I'll do a couple of them on the powder pink ink. So, see, this is just that little extra piece of powder pink that I had, so I'll just stamp one on here. And these aren't super dark if you stamp it twice. You can see that. So I'm going to just do full ink on that. And then what I will do is, so if this went this way, there's my little dot up at the top. So this would definitely be super good with the Stamparatus. Okay, so let me put, where is number 5? Go with, where did I have that? So I know I lined it up correctly, like a ding-a-ling. Hold on. There we go, like that. So this piece is going to go up top like that. So I'm going to set this on it, and then I'm going to try to stamp in the same area. Let me move this over here with this one. Okay, so then I'm going to use, I'll use Lovely Lipstick, because that'll be kind of bright. You could also use, you could probably use Mango. Actually, Mango might. Let me do Mango. Just because I don't know that they definitely would have like a super vivid stamen. So we'll go with Mango. Just for the heck of it. So I'm going to just line this up again. And there you go. So I didn't line it up exactly correctly, but it puts the stamen in there. I'm going to put one here. This is my second stamp. You know, I'm going to tell you, I didn't know that some of them had numbers on them either until I looked at it, and I was like, I wonder what that number's for. And then that's when I realized it. So let me put this over here. I'll just set that there for now. So we have 5 flowers, so that's enough. I'm going to cut these out, and I just have to grab my Big Shot. One problem today when I was cleaning my desk off to do this is I put everything to the right here. So I just had to move everything that I put there to be able to get the Big Shot over here. I'm telling you, I am winning at today. Winning, winning, winning. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do kind of all of our Big Shot work at the same time, and then we'll put the card together. So I do have my magnetic platform and my cutting pad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, I'm not going to do the dynamic folder yet because this one is a thicker folder, so I'm going to change this. I'll save this one for the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these little pieces of wood on here, wood paper, and I'll cut these first. Let's see what I can arrange on here. That one looks like it's in. That's pretty small. I'm gonna move this down. I'm like really thrifty when it comes to my paper. So I know sometimes I see demonstrators and they just plop it right in the center, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, look at all that paper. I really like to get my money's worth out of whatever it is that I'm doing. So I am going to, since these are a little bit slimmer, I'm gonna run them back and then the other way again. It's funny, things have now, not all of them have numbers, but if you have ones that are layered, they do put the numbers on them, which is kind of funny. So these should just pop right out. Now, the other thing is you could even save these little inside pieces. I'm sure you could use them for something. But they should just fall pretty much right out of here. Okay. I did also use these, in case you haven't seen this. I did these for a Mickey Mouse card because the shape of them, like you could do like a funny Mickey Mouse ear or mini if you added a bow to it. You could also use this big swirl for the head as well. So let me move these over and put this over here. And then I'm going to, let's see, where did I stamp these little guys? So you can do one of two things for this. And I just realized this now. So you have your, just trying to look at these. I probably should have brought my glasses up. So you have your color that will, or your die that will cut out the entire flower. So I might have overlapped some of these a little bit too close, which would not surprise me in the least. That look about right? I think that's right. So I'm going to put one here. But then there's also one that I think would probably do an impression. So if you wanted to get like a detailed piece just on the pink, I'm going to put this one on one of these just to see how it lines up to cut. I think that is correct. Those two are pretty close together. So I'm going to see how this one cuts. This one probably is going to cut holes in it, but it might still turn out cute. So just trying to make sure. I've never taken these off thus far, so that's why they won't stop sticking to my fingers. Nope, that's right. That's how I had it was right. I'm going to set this here. See if I get some of the sticky off before I set that on there. And I think the way my my stamen are is throwing off my thing that I have it lined up to be, but that's okay. We're going to work with it like that. So I'm going to cut these out. Oops. Hopefully that went where it was. If not, we're just going to see what it looks like. And also, so I went to 3 different stores this morning. I went to the grocery store, and then I went to Aldi, and then I went to Target. And I really need to go to the place to get batteries in my watch, because I've looked at my watch for like the past 4 days, and apparently it stopped several days ago at 10 o'clock. So I'm always like, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock already? And then I realized, yeah, Rachel, it's still 10 o'clock. So this one, in case I talk through it, it did cut it out, but it also punched these little holes. So they're cute. So we'll just sponge that a little bit. So it kind of went against what I had done with the stamen. So I'm going to just run this one through, and then I'll run the other one through. And then we'll just go with these flowers from here. She also added a really beautiful ribbon that she cut out. So now I'm going to cut this other one out, and I'm going to do the white one with the little holes in it. Okay, so there's that one. Let me see if I can get this one lined up that it will cut. I think that should be good right there. Pretty sure that's correct. Sometimes, depending on where the magnets are on these, they do get a little silly sometimes. Plus, because mine is sticky, this darn thing is sticking to me. Okay. And let's see if I can figure out where this one lines up since it's so darn light. Looks like that. Okay. So this will be, see if it's going to stay. Yeah, that's close enough. And we'll cut this one out. The other really pretty thing about this one, the reason that I actually bought this stamp set in the first place, the Colorful Seasons, I actually bought it because I really liked the snowflake, but I also really, really like the branch. And then if you want to get, what did I do with it? Where's the stamp set? Oh, if you want to get the stamp set, you could do really pretty cherry blossom cards with this. And I love the cherry blossoms. That's like one of my favorite things, which I haven't been in a few years, but my favorite things to go to DC and see is the cherry blossoms. And if you guys have never been, if you have the chance, you should go. It is, oh man, they are so beautiful, especially if it's like a nice warm spring day and they're just blowing in the breeze. Oh, gorgeous. So this is the dynamic folder, which means this is a bit fatter than a regular folder. So you want to make sure when you do this that you don't put your thin die adapter in. You just use your regular platform. You use your piece of Whisper White. Also, if you spritz this with water, which I don't think I have any water. I think all of my spritzers have alcohol in them. But just for the heck of it, I'm going to spritz it anyway. So this has alcohol in that frost white. So why not? Might as well add it while we're here. So I'm just going to lay this down on top so I don't get everything wet. I'm just going to spray this and then run it through. We'll see if this works similarly. So I'm going to put this, put this in. I'm not really like lining it up anywhere specifically. Put my one cutting pad on top and then just crank it through. And if you wet your paper before you run it through, it gives a really, really deep impression. As you can see, it is like almost 3D. So there's that. And I think that's all. I don't think we need the big shot for anything else. So let me move this out of the way. And scoot this over. Okay, so now all we're going to do is put the card together. And I do still have to add my bow. So let me move this. Put this over here. And I have my flowers, and where is my old paper piercer? So I'm just going to pop these out. And you do have all these like little extra pieces you could probably use for something else. So we'll use that. When you have time, make sure that you do go back. Like if you're working on a project and you're doing a lot of stuff, and if for some reason something doesn't come out, make sure your dies are clean, because if they're not, they don't cut as well. So just, I know I've said that before, and I mostly say it for myself because a lot of times I don't clean them. So these are neat because they have a little bit of extra color with using that wood paper. Let me just clean this one out before I forget. Put that there. And same with this one. So if you ever notice something gets stuck, the other thing you can do with these two is you can run them through with a bit of wax paper. I know some people don't do that. I have never had any problem with it making an issue with my die thereafter, but it does release things, but it only kind of lasts for so long. So if that's the case, if you get a new set of dies and they don't really work the way you think you are wanting them to work, and I use really cheap wax paper from the dollar store, it seems to work the best. I think it's because it's not like super duper waxy. This one I ended up cutting the piece off, so we'll just make sure we put this somewhere different. Let me make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks about right. I think I got everything here. Put these back over this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me grab a dauber. And if you see, this is where I have all my daubers and my sponges and my rollers and whatnot. So I usually do wash these out when I'm finished with them, and they are stained looking, but typically I've not had any of them come off onto anything else. So like a lot of these, I will try to pick a similar color family if I'm using it. So if I'm using like a light pink, I will try to pick one that's whiter or that has a pink base. So just as an FYI, but you do get 5 of these in a pack, the sponge daubers. You do get 2 packs of the spritzers when they come, so the Stampin' Spritzers. And when you get the sponges, they do come in this 3-pack. So what I usually do is I will cut them in half twice. Some people even cut them smaller than that, so it just kind of depends. And then I just keep all of this stuff together in the same bin. Really easy. It's a light bin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sponge these with Blushing Bride, just so it's like a little teeny bit darker. So I just have my sponge dauber, and I'm just going to kind of go around the edges. Just like that. I'm going to, you could do this as well with this, but I'm going to leave this just as it is. And you probably can't see it, but since I did it with that shimmer, it's really, really pretty. It almost looks like shimmer paper, but it's very light. So if you ever, another thing, just as another quick tip, if you ever are feeling like something in your card, like before you put it together and you kind of feel like it's missing something, sponging the edges of your layers really gives a cool effect, but a really nice feel to your card. So if you're ever, you know, you're looking at it, you're kind of like, it just needs something. Try sponging it, either with a similar color. You could do tone on tone or a darker color. It really gives a nice look to it. Thank you, Linda. That's so nice of you. I'm just reading that. come on, just at the perfect time. It's funny too, because sometimes I'll like, I do get up early, so I'm thinking like I would start earlier, but it's also nice for like almost people on all coasts, because some people are either getting ready for the morning or, you know, like you already dropped somebody off and you're going to school. I am going to, since I said it, I'm going to sponge the edge of this. And this one again was the powder pink, but just to show you, I'm just going to sponge the edge. It's not going to be super dark, but it gives like a whole nother layer of depth. So I'm sponging powder pink, but I'm sponging it with Blushing Bride. And then you could also do the wood layer with like crumb cake if you wanted to. If you wanted it to be darker, you could do it with soft suede. I would kind of hesitate toward using the espresso, only because espresso is our base. So sometimes it'll make it just a tad bit too dark. Total another tidbit that I thought of after the fact, if you wanted to save paper, what you could do is you could stamp, because we're going to cover this up, you could stamp all of these flowers. So you could stamp like a ton of flowers in the center and cut them out, because we're going to just cover this anyway. So saving paper, stamp stuff in the middle. You could go ahead and like cut stuff out in the middle, but I don't want to make you suffer through that. You could cut out more rings of the powder pink to kind of add something else to it. So just as a little FYI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece because I like this knot in it, because my grandfather did not like knots in wood. So I think I'm like now drawn to knots in wood. One other thing, if you want to get this, like if you're worried about the edging lining up, use liquid glue, because it allows you to be able to move it a little bit. So I'm going to do that. But I am going to make sure I get all the way to the edge on my piece. That way I don't have any peeling up pieces. So I'm going to just put this one on first. And I'm putting this one on first, that way I can cover up this little rip with the white. A little bit of glue there. Just get that off. And you definitely want to use a really strong glue with using the embossing folder, or the embossed paper, I should say, because things will get in the crevices and it kind of makes it a little harder to stick. So liquid glue is definitely your friend if you're adhering something down that you've embossed with a folder. You can also do one of two things. You could use this side, which is the debossed, or the embossed. So it just depends on what you want to use. I'm going to put this up at the top. Just going to lay this over, kind of line that up, make sure that I'm getting a shadow. So I want to make sure that's straight. I think I might have trimmed one of my pieces just slightly askew, because they're not exactly lining up, but that's okay. Just force that over a little bit, just like that. Okay, and just give this a nice press. Make sure your fingers are clean, especially if you're doing white. It definitely would be helpful. Another little piece of information, if you wanted to, if you're worried about putting this, you could always put a Sizzix adhesive sheet onto the back of your paper, your DSP, before you cut it out. That way all you have to do is peel off the adhesive sheet. So just a little idea. And then what I'm going to do is, she used this beautiful, if you guys haven't gotten your hands on this yet, this ribbon ties so beautifully. It's the Petal Pink and Whisper White variegated ribbon. So I'm going to just tie, let me see if I can get all the sticky off of my fingers. I'm going to tie a bow. So what I'm going to do is, you have to practice this, because tying a bow backwards is, if you're used to going this way, it's a little bit to get used to. But what you do is you make your bunny ear, and then you come around the back side and you push your other bow through, and almost every time it makes a, this one, hold on, I turned this the wrong way. It makes a really flat, nice looking ribbon. So when I tighten this, I also kind of hold on to the tails. That way I can pull it tighter. But it always makes a really, really pretty ribbon. I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. Wow, it's windy outside. I was just looking outside and I thought maybe the neighbor's dog was out, but it's just the wind. You guys got a crazy snowstorm in Ohio the other day, huh? What's up with that stuff? I'm glad we didn't get that here. It was beautiful the other day, and then yesterday I was freezing. And I thought, well, at least it didn't snow. And I think one of my friends had even snowed in North Carolina, where she lives. And I thought that was just, you know, who probably moved to North Carolina and thought it was going to snow? I'm sure I would never imagine that. So there's our bow. We're going to just put this down. So that was a really easy bow to tie, but you could use any color ribbon. You could use a completely different color scheme with this as well if you wanted to. I'm going to put this on with a, I'm going to put it on with a mini dimensional. Just for the heck of it. And more so for the sticking power, not really for the dimension of it. So I have that on the back, so we're going to use that. I think I'm also going to put, this one I'm going to put flat because it's got a broken leaf, but I think I'm going to put two of these on with a mini dimensional, and then 2 of them will put flat. Only other thing I completely forgot about here was a sentiment. So we probably have to do something, and I also want to punch out a couple leaves. So let me do that real quick. And I'm going to just use, because I have some scrappy pieces here, I'm going to just use some old olive. And then I might actually even sponge these. As you can see, I've clearly used this for old olive before, so I'm not sure how I forgot that I had this punch. I feel like this punch, and I could be wrong, but I feel like it might have had a coordinating stamp set at some time. Does anybody remember if that's correct? So what I'm going to do is, let me grab I'm going to grab a sponge just because it's easier so I don't have to dig for a dauber. And I'm going to use old olive, and I'm going to sponge the edge of this just a little, just the leaf part. And I'm going to do one other thing as well. I know, I am so ready for spring. Well, after the day we had last Friday and Saturday was even nicer. I was like, I like snow and all, but I'm done. I'm officially done for the year. Regardless. Definitely Daisy. All right, what did I miss here? The Daisy, I do like that stamp set. That's a really nice one as well. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Mossy Meadow marker. Boy, that's a tongue twister. And I'm going to just take the fine tip of it, and I'm going to just like draw a little veining in. Nothing more than that, just to kind of, if you were to look, you could see the flow of it. Very lightly. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I think I did a couple of these opposite, which is good because you'll have variations. Let me make sure I have the right side. Yeah. And you could add something more to it if you wanted, but I just figured that would give it like a little bit of depth. So now all we have to do is decide how we want to layer these together. So I'm going to kind of just lay them down for now. How we want to layer these together. I'm going to go ahead and grab some mini glue dots, and I'm going to put these onto the back of these other flowers and leaves. That way they're already ready to go. A couple of these, if you want to, you can take your bone folder and you could like curl the edges of the flowers up a little bit so it has a little depth to it. And since this one has these holes in the center, I'm actually going to just take my glue dot and kind of ball it up a little bit and put it so it's kind of off to one side there. If that makes sense. You could do the same thing with the leaves, but just be sure you're careful with them because I'm a little rough with stuff, so my luck will end up ripping the whole thing off. I'm going to put a glue dot on 2 of the leaves, and I'll just do the same thing. Oops. This one. Oh, turn these over. Oh, there you go. I got a hair. How lovely. It's amazing. I don't know if any of you ladies have long hair, but it's amazing when you have, my hair isn't even that long, but when you have long hair, how much stuff it sticks to or you find it attached to. Okay, there's that. And I'm going to do one more kind of in here. So if you hit it in the middle there where the vine is, I usually will just kind of wrap it in on itself. That way you can stick that in somewhere. Okay, so I think I have all these ready. This one I'm going to just put some fine tip glue on the back of these if I can find it. I could use my silicone sheet, but it's buried, so I'm going to skip that for now. So I'm going to just put some dots of this on. I know some people don't like this whatsoever. So you could also do the sponge trick where you add the Tombow liquid glue to your sponge and sponge it on. You could do that. Put that one here. If you are doing something with this, I recommend putting something on top of it just to weigh it down a little bit. I'll do the same with this one. I know a lot of people don't, but I like this fine tip glue pen. Probably, I guess, just because it's still easy for me to open. May not be saying that in a few years. Okay, put this one on over here. And I think now I'm looking at it, might have accidentally glued the other side twice. So this, I have to make sure that I'm careful when I set this down. That way I don't rip it up. God, 5 inches of snow. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Put a little bit on the center. There you go. That's good. All right. Put this one over. And put this down a little bit. So now I have to be careful because I now have glue on these other spots. Okay. So just like that. Now I'm going to just kind of piece in my leaves. Put these underneath. I'll take this one off. This one down here. Tuck this kind of under here. I think I forgot to put a glue dot on the back of this one. Yep, I did. Let me put one on here. This is the one that has the broken petal, so I'm going to see if I can, there we go, I'll disguise that just like that. One more over here. I'm going to save this one because we might add that one in with a ribbon. Hold on. Like that. All right, I'm going to take this off. Do still need to. You don't really have to. I guess you really don't need to add a sentiment. And we can certainly trim this off a little bit. I think I'm going to pop this. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Pop this kind of under here. Just like that. All right, so let's see. I have lots of super nice sentiments in the seasonal layer stamp set. I still do need to put this on here. We have to figure out what I'm going to do with this. Hold on. You're definitely going to need a layer of Whisper White on the inside of this. And I'm going to just do the Tombow liquid glue just to make sure if I need to adjust this a little bit since it's a layer on a layer. And let's see what that looks like. Pretty good. So I think, so she had a really nice, like an oval sentiment, but since that's going to be a little bit big, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tiny sentiment. Just like that. Make sure all these pieces are, I just want to give these a press now that I actually put them down where I want them to make sure everything sticks. So just like that. Again, you could completely leave this sentimentless. You don't have to add a sentiment to it. But I'm going to look. Let me see what's over here. Swirly Bird does not have any actual words in it. So if you were to use this, which this is a really great stamp set as well. It's got a lot of stuff for backgrounds and also is really good for building stuff, but it doesn't have any words. We have Thinking of You. This one might be pretty small. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, Thinking of You. This one isn't very big. So I'm going to use this, and we'll figure out what we're going to do for it. Let me grab a little piece of, and I'm going to tell you one other thing. When you glue your stuff down, you do want to make sure you use a lot of glue. I know some people might have looked at that and thought, that's a lot of glue for the background. But you have all these layers, so you just want to make sure that you press them enough, especially the edges, because you don't want it peeling up. And as a matter of fact, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put another glue dot underneath this little leaf here because I don't want it to rip. So I'm going to put one under here. And then I'm going to put one more underneath of this little stem part. And I'm going to take this one and kind of just roll it. And kind of lift this up just a little and stick it under. Just that way it doesn't rip away, because some of the, like, you want it to have a little depth, but at the same time you don't want it to be that it rips off of your card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this thinking of you. Let's see if I can make it so it's actually straight. Okay, and I'm going to stamp this in espresso just so it sticks with the theme. I don't want to like pull black out on this because I think it'd be a little bit overpowering for the card. So grab this real quick. It would make a nice Easter card. That's right. I should have saved this. Could have used it for the Easter blog hop. Maybe it'll be some sort of a play on that. You never know. All right, let me see what this looks like. That's very pretty. I think my early espresso needs re-inking because it is a little bit light, if you ask me. And I'm going to grab my punch. I think this is classic label. Hopefully it fits. Now that I think about it, I don't know if this is going to fit. Oh, it's awful tight. Let's see if we can make this work. That's a little too tight. Yeah, it's going to cut things off. So instead, hopefully I didn't mess it up any with my... I'm going to just trim this. And then, let's see. I just wanted to cut that out with my big scissors, and we'll see if we can neaten this up a little bit. Probably also would be simple, too. If you wanted to, you could get your Stamparatus out. And you know how we all have those little strips from when we cut our paper down a little bit? That'd be a good idea to do that. And I think what I'm going to do, just to hopefully this works out that I'm actually cutting this squarely, is I'm going to layer this onto, where is my paper? I'm going to layer this onto, let's see what this looks like on here. That might be a little dark. Let me look in my paper, because I have all this stuff here. Let's see if we can find something a little lighter. This might look pretty. I'm going to layer this onto this kind of washed piece of wood paper, and I'm going to just sponge just a little bit of it. So let me grab my trimmer, and I'm going to see if I can cut a piece. This is pretty tiny. This probably is, it's like 2, so we could do 2 by, it's probably about ½ an inch. So I'm going to do this end. Go 3/4 of an inch and 2 1/4, because I don't want it to be too big. Let's see what this looks like. That's pretty, and I'm going to sponge this with pink. That'll be good enough. So that's one other thing. If you think about it and you kind of want this to be a certain color ahead of time, just kind of, or a certain shape ahead of time, just already go ahead and like work that into what it is that you're doing. So I'm going to sponge the edges of both. And I know that sentiment is a tiny bit crooked, but just to kind of keep the lightness of the pink of this. Do that one, and I'll just do this one just lightly. So I'm going to have to find out what Miss leafandleaf.net's name actually is, because this really is a super pretty card. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do the liquid glue. So that way, because this is such a tiny piece, so it doesn't get aligned incorrectly. Kind of looks like a little wooden sign. It's actually really cute. I think I'm going to put this up on dimensionals while I'm at it. So let me see. Are they over here somewhere? I don't know. That's okay. I will find a new pack. And if you have these little pieces left, you could use this little strip. Put this behind, just like that. This strip is wider because these are from the mini dimensionals. You could also, if you wanted to, ahead of time, you could round these edges with the trio punch. There you go. And you could also leave the sentiment list and put the sentiment on the inside if you wanted to. Just kind of depends. That's just the teeniest bit crooked. There you go. So, pretty card. Very simple. I mean, really, I made it more complicated because I did a little bit of sponging and changed my mind 500 times like I tend to do. But really nice card with the swirly. I love that swirly set. I'm really hoping that it carries over again because that is one of my like really go-to sets if you ever want something that's kind of abstract. Plus you can make like little wreaths out of it. You could even just use the larger piece if you wanted to. Like this kind of looks like a country wreath. Make yourself a little bow, add some flowers to it. If you were making like a welcome home card for somebody, like welcome to your new home, or your first home, or I don't know, whatever. You know, I'm kind of getting a little crazy with my sentiment here. So the stamp sets that I used were Colorful Seasons. Hold on, I'm trying to close this. I think I left this open for just a teeny bit too long. Oh, there it is. I'm trying to close this up real quick so I don't forget about it. I used Colorful Seasons. That's what we used for the flowers. And then I used the seasonal layers. Oh, this is stuck to that. The seasonal layers are what actually cut out the flowers. And there's still one more of these. Nope, here it is. And I used that to cut them out. And then I used the swirly scribbles. So that was what the big wreath shapes were. This one goes inside here. Let me scoot this down just a little. It kind of goes like that. This is another one that I think I trimmed the sheet just like a little bit too close. But swirly scribbles, that's what we made the wreath part with. And then that also has a coordinating stamp set, which is swirly bird, that you can make a lot of different stamps with as well. And then the other one, if you haven't noticed before, is swirly frames. So lots of different stamps there. So again, if you guys have an idea for what you would like to see next Wednesday before I go to on stage, just send me an email. You can send me a message here on Facebook. You know, whatever's easier. I'm trying to make things simple for you guys. I'm happy to take requests. A lot of times that's how I find out about what it is that I want to make. If you have any questions about ordering or anything else, they did just put out the Stampin' Up storage line, which I did order one piece of each just to be able to share with you guys. But my order hasn't shipped yet. But still, some of those items are getting low, just as an FYI. However, I will tell you that will carry into the next catalog. So as soon as they get replenished, something could possibly go out of stock. But once it gets replenished again, they will resume shipping and whatnot. April's Paper Pumpkin, the deadline to sign up for that is the 10th. And it is going to be a distinctive stamp, which if you haven't seen those before, they look really 3D. They're really, really neat stamps. But it's going to be with photopolymer, which I didn't know that they could do those with photopolymer. So that'll be pretty cool as well. But you do have to sign up for that by the 10th of the month. And I believe that's it. So thank you guys, as always, for joining me on this crazy journey every week where we just never know what we're going to make. This is a really pretty card. It's so simple. And thank you to Miss leafandleaf.net for the beautiful inspiration for this card. I'm going to find out what her name is, and I'm going to tag her in this when I make it so you guys can see all the other pretty cards that she made. But beautiful, simple card. Just a little sponging made it a little bit extra delightful. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and if I do not see you sooner, I will see you back here again next Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. You can order 24/7, not 25/7. There's not 25 hours in the day, although I like to wish there were, at rachthestamper.stampinup.net. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow my blog. I have lots of ideas that I post there. That's rachthestamper.com, and I post specials and stuff as well. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.